And then what actually happened was you actually got copied, even with parts by Blackstar. And I mean, you kind of figured out that they also used components that are identical to the ones that you are using, but also they called the whole thing amped 1 and the amped 2. And that was when I saw that, I was like, okay, until now Blackstar was kind of an okay company for me, but now it's like, oh, this is kind of very cheap attempt. But you figured out that they were using the same power amp section, or like the same?
No. They used the same power transformer.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is something obvious because my power transformer is custom wound to my specification.
Okay.
Now, why am I going for a power transformer? In the ordinary amp world, it would be so easy to get a standard component. Want, if you want a power transformer, you would go and say, okay, I want this kind of transformer.
I'm going to buy the Mercury Magnetics,
standard.
or I'm going to buy the
or whatever. So, but they actually used the same winding pattern, isolation pattern, triple isolated wire, and core. That tells me they were digging in deeper than just somebody that is inspired by something. For me, being inspired is totally okay. Nobody comes up with new music without having some inspiration from somewhere.
Yes.
Making this your own creation in a way. That's totally fine with me. And the same is with amplifiers. There's a Mesa Boogie that was based on Fender amps, and then there was the Soldano 39K cassette resistor that we find in a PV5150 and a Houston Cat.
Yeah, exactly.
And so and it was just a lucky accident by Mike Soldano. I mean, but this is like, Keith Richards played Satisfaction, the horn line on the fuzz phase, and this became the iconic thing. So it probably that's but somebody does something, and somebody else or some other company makes this their own version. It's like and there's a line between being inspired and making it your own version. They can go and say, okay, we do a pedal amp, and that's fine, because somebody like myself made the pedal amp a thing. And if they go and said, oh, we have a great idea, let's make pedal amps that have, like Seymour Duncan, not so many preamp channels. We are more a power amp and an EQ, and everybody has a pedal board, and it's a cool product. I have no problems with that. It is different from what I do. But if you go to that level where you actually kind of not only get inspired, but copy things that I'm using, and then even that's the thing, is copying things, not understanding what I'm doing. Which is the next level. That this is, that's kind of a little bit uncool. I mean, they have
you can
they have
be honest here. It's shitty. You're too nice.
No, I'm not even talking. I mean, I'm not even talking about the quality. I mean, there's tons of things like, why having an EQ done on the digital domain? There is analog digital conversion just for the EQ section, and then the power amp thing, which is again an IR to model some power amp characteristics, which is only a Q curve with them. It's another, because they have that after the effects loop. So there's like analog digital conversion, digital analog conversion, another one, and it sums up in 6 point whatever 5 milliseconds with a pedal amp. That, I mean, using digital technology to do that is totally the opposite of what I believe in. I have no problems with digital technology if you use that for the things that the technology is best at.
Yeah.
But to have a standard guitar EQ, you don't have to model that.
No.
That's fucking simple. It's, and this is what they are doing with. I don't get it. Anyway.
So if I get it right, guys, you're saying I should get the Black Star amp?
Sure, of course. So the moment you should get both and make up your own opinion. Yeah. But if I can recommend you great Black Star amps too, because this company also has great products.
Yes.
But in having a product named AMP1 after AMP1 is on the market for 6 years or 7 years, weird. Whatever. It's weird. And the same kind of mindset you can find inside. But the Holy Grail nuances that I'm doing, they couldn't do. Therefore, they went into the digital domain and tried to do it there, which is totally wrong. With my Amp X, I try to be so analog, because this is what a tube amp is doing, and this is what it's part of the electric guitar instrument quality. I'm not saying digital products are crap. That's not true. Digital domain has some advantages. Analog domain has some advantages. Yeah. But if you have an amp that is based on analog technology, you should do as much as you can on the analog side, because this gives you the best quality. Yes. And they kind of go back and forth. It's like combining everything you have in a car. Like you have a diesel, a standard fuel, and a rocket, and an electrical car at once, and then the car becomes overweight and has no performance anymore. So either you go this way or that way, and you max out the qualities. And we have products that show that. I mean, there are some great digital products out there, and they take advantage of that technology. All my respect. Killer. And the same for the analog side.
Yeah. It sounds to me like, because you put in over 20 years of research and development with your own product, that these guys were like, okay, well, if we're going to get in this, we might as well take the Holy Grail, try to retro engineer the thing, and just get the fast track to get the same kind of product on the market, and try to, establish ourselves as pedal amp. That's probably what they did. But at the same time, the shortcuts that they took, and I'm just assuming here, the shortcuts that they took, those are mistakes that you probably worked on throughout the 20 years. You were like, okay, this doesn't work. So that's how you developed a stable product, as opposed to just like taking something and go, well, let's put some innovative ideas and throw this in there. And at the end, you end up with a product that's subpar, because you didn't actually do the road testing and the actual development of that kind of product. Anyways, that's what I'm hearing right now.
Yeah, let me do one more comment here. We know the decades of tube amps with most manufacturers. I mean, Marshall, Fender, all the big brands, and now even the new brands like Ref or Riviera or Vox and whatnot. And the technology of tube amps has been around for 50, 60, whatever decades. So the experience with this kind of technology and the knowledge in this technology is probably widely known and being shared and copied and of course, we are at the peak of what can be done. It's now only about the taste of the voicing of the amp. It's not like we can make the tube amps better. We can just voice them better, which makes, of course, a better product. I mean, this is why people get crazy about certain amps, because they have the ultimate thump or the whatever. But that's on a level that is using the platform of the tube technology and the knowledge of the amp designer to voice it best.
Yeah.
So, but there is a certain limit that is from the technology that is kind of reached. There's you can't go any further with that, because then there's nothing new in the last 60 years.
Yeah.
So when you look at the digital platform, we can see improvements every couple of years. We can see improvements on the sound quality. We can see, because the algorithms are getting better, the conversions are getting better, the performance of the DSPs are getting better, which allows to program better algorithms and stuff like that. So I kind of monitor that side a lot, because that's, for me, seeing the old school tube technology for decades, I'm just interested about the new flavor that somebody creates, because the rest is boring. It's the same old technology from the engineer point of view, not from the musician point of view. I'm totally excited about a great tone. Doesn't matter where it's come from. You know, I don't care if it's a transistor, a diode, or even the diode that I hated the most in my designs. If somebody creates some great noise with that, I'm all in. So that's that thing. But looking at the companies, what kind of knowledge they are based on, and what kind of knowledge they work on. When they jump on something like what I've done, what they forgot about is it is not only using a transistor discrete technology or whatever, what I'm doing. It's hidden at this kind of stage, and then there is a special power supply. This was the main thing that I could instantly see how somebody the transformer rewound in my specs, and then using the same chip in the different housing. So it's not so obvious, but it's the same family, you know. So that's pretty obvious. But the more subtle stuff that I'm doing, and this is where the sound comes from. You know, this is what it takes hours, is voicing a pedal. It's creating that whatever, stacking gain stages with the voicing. This is where it's getting complicated, and where the quality lives in tube amps or in any amp. This is where, and when you look at this side and you see they don't even have the understanding of what's going on there, because it's totally natural, because they live on tube amps or some modeling, and they had no deep transistor knowledge built up. I started with doing that with Hughes and Kettner last century with the early practice amps. They weren't that bad, but they weren't also that great. But I've been there, and now with the pedal boom, we see amp in the box pedals a lot more, and Frank knows that. If you look at these kind of designs, for instance, the Friedman BOD pedal, if you understand what's going on there's like 5 clipping stages, and there's a hard clip and a soft clip here, and there's a filtering there. This is what's getting pretty close to what's happening in the tube amp.
Yeah, it's true.
But Blackstar guys would have looked at these pedals and understood what the the recipe of that is and do their own version of that, then I would say, fair enough, great. But it's like there's something missing with them. And this is what I'm doing 100% dedicated with the BluGuitar company, because you will see that Jusen Kettner will go another direction, because they don't have the guys like myself and Bernd Schneider, who sadly passed away, who were totally into that. Let's do it with new transistor or solid state technology instead of tubes or digital. That mindset and the experience is missing. And you have to have people that believe in that and go and develop something with that mindset, that knowledge. And this is what I'm doing with my team. It's not me alone. I have Julian, I have Andre, and I have Andreas, and we are all together. We are 4 guys that do that project. And it's not one guy that modifies the tube amp, and it's not one digital guy who is a genius like Christoph Kemper that has a few other friends that tell him something. No, it's a team, and we kind of understood the spirit and the challenge, and that's what I am doing. And let's see who will compete with us.